Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal and we are discussing the budget expectations for the year 2022. And Dinesh Kanabar, there are many tax technicalities that corporate India will be watching out for very, very closely. Yes, there have been many simplifications and easier tax regime is something that the government has been working towards. What are some of those big asks that corporate India needs in terms of simplification as well as for better ease of business in the country?
So, first, Anisha, a lot has happened in the last 1 year. Probably one does not see normally those many changes, positive changes on the tax side that we have seen. We already have probably one of the lowest rates of taxes, 15% for manufacturing companies, 25 for others if you don't want to avail of any tax benefits, etc. We have got faceless assessment. This was the 1 year where the government actually went back and removed the retrospective taxation on overseas indirect transfers, etc. I think the one key expectation which corporate India has is proper implementation of what is proposed. Let me give you one example. Last year, for example, one of the very salient budget proposal was that your reassessment, your assessments cannot be reopened for 6 years. That 6 years was reduced to 2 years. And lo and behold, we had hundreds and thousands of reopenings, actually lakhs of reopenings in March, so that they didn't have to take the lower time sheet. So what happens is we come good on proposals, and when it comes to implementation, we have challenges. That's one part. Second is when I look at corporate India, two things happen. One is work from home has become a reality. COVID has become a reality. One ask which corporate India has had for a very long time, and which has been sort of given a go by the finance ministry, is that the expenditure, whether it is a CSR expenditure or it is expenditure on COVID for staff, etc., should be a legitimate tax expenditure which is deductible. Similarly, most of us today are working from home, and some of the large companies, the BPOs, etc., need to give allowances to their staff so that they can work from home in a proper manner. Those allowances ought not to be treated as taxable. So that's the second set of issues. The third set of issues is on mergers, where there have been several challenges on which representations have been made for a period of time. For example, we have Section 56 and Section 50C. And without getting into technicalities, Nisha, those are sections under which there is notional income because a transaction is happening not at a value which is, say, as per the ready reckoner or which is as per the book value. And we are seeing transactions de facto between unrelated parties happening, which are not at Section 56 or under Section 50C. And therefore, we are seeing threat of notional income addition. I can give you several examples, and those anomalies need to be removed. And finally, there is this huge issue on digital taxation. India was one of the early countries which came up with equalization levy, which came up with the concept of significant economic presence, etc. And the wordings of those provisions leave a lot to be explained. There has been a representation from corporate India that merely, for example, because you do a transaction where a confirmation is happening on an email does not make it a digital transaction. So while the provisions seek to tax digital transaction, what they could end up is attacking a vast array of transactions, which is not intended. I think corporate India is looking at how does one move forward on this.
Right. So you touched upon digital taxation, and that is becoming a very big piece in the overall economy right now, Dinesh Kanabar. Help us understand what are the developments that have taken place globally in the OECD pillars, and based on that, how does India need to move forward on digital taxation regime as well?
That's a very good question, Nisha. So the OECD came up with what we call as BEPS 2, which is essentially a revised framework for global taxation of digital transactions. And it has come up with a two-pillar approach, pillar 1, pillar 2. Pillar 1 seeks to reallocate profits on the basis of market jurisdiction, which is what India has been asking for. Pillar 2 is talking about that every country globally should have at least a minimum 15% rate of tax. Now, obviously, We do have 15% rate of tax in India, but there are Indian companies having presence overseas where they may not have a 15% rate of tax. And the question is, the new provisions which India will bring into this budget, and those will be watched with bated breath as to how does one incorporate the Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 provisions in the finance bill. You may be aware, for example, that when India introduced equalization levy, USA came back to say that this is a levy primarily intended at US companies, which of course it was not. And therefore, USA came back to say that under our trade regulations, we are going to levy countervailing duties on imports from India. Very recently, the USA Undersecretary of State was in India and she had discussions with our Commerce Minister, and we agreed that we will give a go-by to equalization levy no sooner Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 get implemented, and in return, USA agreed to withdraw the duties which they were to impose. So it will be very, very interesting to see that with these global developments, what is it that India will do in terms of both Pillar 1 and Pillar 2.
All right, so digital taxation will take up a lot of time of the government as it's evolving fast globally, and ours will have to tie in with that in this new norm. Now, KK Mistry, you spoke about the real estate sector, and yes, it has done tremendously well in a recent past, but I wanted to understand the affordable housing segment. That's a different segment altogether. Government has done a lot to give thrust to that particular segment. What else needs to be done? What could be the expectation from the union budget on that?
Well, I think the government has really, truly done a tremendous lot for the affordable housing segment and enables so many individuals who could never have thought of buying a house to be homeowners today. I think there are two, the primary product through which the government's affordable housing program works is through what is called the CLSS, which is Credit Linked Subsidy Scheme. Under this Credit Linked Subsidy Scheme, if a customer complies with certain conditions with regard to his income and with regard to the size of the dwelling unit he's buying, then he becomes eligible for a subsidy from the government. And this has helped enormously a very, very large number of people. Now, this CLSS scheme could probably look at two modifications. One is, it's been, as I said, it's been a major success, but it needs the benefit of the CLSS needs to be extended to more locations. This is the first point. The second and the more important point is that the deadline, today the CLSS scheme comes to an end in March 2022. There is, to my mind, strong need to continue the CLSS scheme, at least for the economically weaker section customers and for customers in the lower income group beyond March 2022. So this would be one factor. The second would be to ensure that the greater number of individuals benefit under the affordable housing umbrella. The income of individuals which is eligible for the CLSS benefit is currently capped at 6 lakh rupees a year. Now, this limit of 6 lakhs has been prevalent since 2015. Over that period of the last 6 or 7 years, income levels have obviously gone up. And therefore, in line with inflation, in line with increase in the income, this 6 lakh limit could perhaps be increased to 8 or 9 lakhs. These would be the two asks for affordable housing.
So, KK Mistry, whatever you are saying, it all ties in with the consumption power of the economy. And we are talking about the lower strata, which has been hit hard because of the COVID realities that we have seen. We are talking about SMEs, MSMEs being hit hard, where the government has given some dispensation, but a lot more needs to be done as per the experts. So to spur consumption, you mentioned this, that needs to be focused by the government. But what all are the measures that the government can take, in your view, to spur more consumption and therefore for a big ticket buy like a housing in their lifetime?
Right, so consumption, there are several measures that can be taken to boost consumption. But if I was to give you just one very simple thing, if we look at taxation, direct taxation, corporate tax rates were lowered a couple of years ago, and it met with huge success. The amount of tax collected by the government dramatically increased, as we all know. However, personal tax rates have actually gone up, not come down over that period of time, because there was an additional surcharge that was introduced. Now, global data shows everywhere that when tax rates are reduced, the collection actually increases. Not only does the collection increase, but the feel-good factor in the economy leads to higher spur or increased consumption. Consumption, as I said, results in more demand. Demand leads to manufacturers producing more, therefore creating more jobs, and therefore, as those jobs get created, more income gets generated. Dinesh may be a better person to
Yes.
talk about the tax laws, but my recollection is that
That's
the
right.
corporate tax rate reduction actually resulted in an increase in the tax collection by nearly 50,000 crores. Also, we saw that in Maharashtra.
All right,
In
KK
Maharashtra,
Mistry, this is, yes, yes.
I was saying that in Maharashtra, when the stamp duty rate was reduced, the amount of collection that the state government got by way of stamp duty increased dramatically. So I think some parity in the tax rates
Yes.
could take. Second is capital gains tax.
All right.
Capital gains, could probably get removed because there is in any case a security transaction tax.
That's right, KK Mistry. In fact, tax saving measures are always a big ask by the people, by the industry, by the businesses. But final word to you, Dinesh Kanabar, and very quickly, while the government is taking so many steps in terms of simplification and easier tax regime, is there a disconnect between implementation of these policies, and very quickly, what measures can be taken there?
So, a couple of things, and yes, there is indeed a gap. I had mentioned about that a little bit earlier. One of the very important things, Nisha, is that people would like to ensure that there is a dispute resolution mechanism which is easy to implement and which is ongoing, and where we do not need a resolution plan every 5-7 years, etc. The government had actually set up a committee, and the committee has come up with some very good recommendations. And I do hope that some of those recommendations are implemented. As a part of FICCI, when we had represented before the Revenue Secretary, the answer was yes, the government is keenly looking at it. And Nisha, I would hope that some of those provisions are implemented and we can see ease of dispute resolution. A final thing, Nisha, which is of quite interest is that there has been a demand from section of corporate India on how they could externalize the shareholding and how they could, for example, ensure a direct overseas listing. How could India participate in the SPAC market, etc. And of course, there are two sharply divided views. Here is the Indian market, which has been so robust, where some of the largest listings have happened and happened at very, very attractive valuations. The question is, should the government bring?
So Dinesh Kanabar, I'll tell you that. Yes, I'll tell you that Cabinet approved it, but the fine print hasn't been, announced as yet. There is a large lobby working towards it. Good you raised it. This has been a big ask, but onus lies now on the government to really put that into action, and that will be watched very, very closely. But I would also end by saying that Indian markets have demonstrated the way they are mature in understanding these businesses and also putting in the money in the recent past that we have seen. Dinesh Kanabar, KK Mistry, thanks so much for joining us with all the budget expectations from the Union Budget 2022. With that, it's a wrap on Big Deal. Thanks so much.